We've talked so much about how rare it is for a Canadian quarterback, a Canadian-produced quarterback like Nathan Rourke to be at this level in the CFL and now showing some promise in the NFL, Naylor. I understand you've been spending some time with the next in line of the Rourke family, Kurtis Rourke, his younger brother, who's also going to Ohio University, the Ohio Bobcats, I believe it is. What are you seeing out of Kurtis, and what kind of potential does he have in his future?
Loads of potential. I mean, like, if you put this guy's numbers up against other quarterbacks last year, I believe he was 26th in all of college football on QBR. There's a stat about guys who threw this many touchdowns and this many yards and this many interceptions, and I don't have it at my fingertips. But the only two guys that qualified under what I'm talking about were Hendon Hooker and Kurtis Rourke. And Hendon Hooker was in the Heisman Trophy conversation until he got injured. He's on the Davey O'Brien watch list which is the award for the outstanding quarterback in college football. Now, he plays in the Mid-American Conference, right, which is not a quarterback factory for the NFL. Ben Roethlisberger probably being the best-known NFL quarterback that's ever come out of this conference. Nathan Rourke, of course, came out of this conference. But I had a very interesting experience today. I sat down and interviewed both their head coach, Tim Albin, and their offensive coordinator, Scott Isfording. And one of the things, I asked them was, okay, if I'm an NFL scout who calls you and says, we're looking at Kurtis Rourke, what do you think his potential is in the National Football League? And, when you do interviews, you guys have done this, you got an idea that you're probably not going to get an answer on something. You can kind of hear what's going to come, like, hey, we're not here to decide that. We're here to win every week. We help him prepare the best he can, and we let the NFL – that's what I'm expecting, right? That's the answer I'm going to get. I didn't get that. Wow. I didn't get that at all. Like, Scott Isfording, the OC, he absolutely told me that Nathan Rourke can play in the National Football League, that he has the throwing ability, that he has, the mental acuity, that he's playing in a system that demands a lot of the quarterback, and he's been able to handle it. And Tim Albin, when I asked him the question, his answer, the first thing he said to me, he just said, draft him. Just draft him.
Wow.
Like that, I was quite taken back by what and these are interviews on camera. This is not, standing in the corner of the end zone. And the other thing to know about Kurtis Rourke as an NFL prospect, he's 6'5".
Yeah, he's huge, right?
He is huge, and he's beefed up on top of that. But I went and saw him last year for the first time when I was down here in October, and he walked out, and I did not know he was 6'5". And I looked at him, I said, how tall are you? He said, I'm 6'5". I said, how did that happen? He said, I had a 2-inch growth spurt after I got to college. And the coaches are talking about when they met Nathan here, when he first got to camp, I think 2017, he said, we have video of Nathan, making plays and his brother standing 3 inches shorter behind him. Yeah. Now he's 3 inches taller. So when you put that size, and how the NFL prioritizes size in quarterback, I mean, this guy had 25 touchdowns and 4 interceptions last year.
Wow.
You put that kind of accuracy with that kind of size. He threw for more than 3,000 yards. They've got an offense. His number one and number 2 targets are both back with this team. They've got an experienced offensive line. It's funny. I asked them, I said, what would you like to see him do? What's another step for him this season? They said, we'd like to see him get rid of the ball a little quicker because he's taking 1 or 2 hits a game that he shouldn't be taking. And, obviously that over the course of a season or on a single hit can be a real big difference. He suffered an ACL injury last November and fortunately, had the 9-month recovery version, not the 12. He hasn't been declared the starter for their opener on July 26th at San Diego State, but that may happen as early as Monday. But I'll tell you, when Nathan did his tour of NFL teams after the CFL season last year doing his workouts, he got asked a lot about his quote-unquote little brother. And it was funny when I talked to Nathan at his locker in Dallas the other day, and I told him I was going to go and see Kurtis on Friday, and told me, of course, they're keeping up with each other, training camps at the same time. And he looked at me and said, this season, he's going to shred it. And I love that expression.
Ooh, man, that would be something. You get the Rourke brothers both making it to the NFL. We don't have a long history of that, do we, Dave?
No.
Well, I mean, it's like Canada's Manning brothers, potentially, right? No. I mean, this is, and here's the other thing about Kurtis Rourke. He came out of Canadian high school. Nathan went down and finished his high school in Alabama, and they won a state championship. he had won a championship in Oakville in his grade 11 year. The whole team was coming back, and he just didn't feel the
Oh.
And look, I think that he got a big bump from that Ohio knew the family. They knew Nathan. In fact, they knew Kurtis because they'd met him. Just coming around seeing Nathan when he was here. But that's when you put it in that context. This is a kid who stepped out of Canadian high school and is now on the Davey O'Brien watch list, and has his coach and his OC, doubling down on camera that he's an NFL draft pick. And oh, by the way, in roughly 150 years of Ohio Bobcat football, they've never had a quarterback drafted the NFL.